Hey everybody, we're back here again, and we have an amazing guest today, live from UCLA. I don't know if you're actually at UCLA, but from UCLA Law School, we have Daedra, and I'm not going to try your last name. And maybe you can just do a quick intro and get us started on this really, I think, what's going to be a cool discussion about sort of what's going on in the law school community right now.
Sure. So my last name is pronounced Staten, like Staten Island, but Staten. So I'm the Assistant Director of Graduate Studies at UCLA School of Law. I work primarily with our international students, which is LLM students and SJD students and exchange students. So we have a fair number of LLM students at the law school and an overall population of about 1,100 students. I'm also an alum from UCLA Law from 2013, which seems like a lifetime ago. Yeah, makes me feel very old. And I specialized in critical race studies and in international and comparative law while I was there. And like I was, telling Arthur earlier, I call myself a fake lawyer because I am a barred attorney in the state of California, but I have never used my lawyering skills to do much lawyering. So I think that about sums it up.
Did you? Sorry, Arthur. I'm just curious. Did you know that you would end up not practicing law? Was that the plan?
Yeah. So that was the plan. Just kind of funny. I'm not much for long-term planning, but I've known since I was probably in middle school that I was going to go to law school. I think I've always just kind of had this obsession with the art of debate and argumentation. And I really liked the way that lawyers thought. I thought it was just kind of fascinating and sexy to, think like a lawyer. And I think in my senior superlatives in high school, I was most likely to become a lawyer because I was so argumentative. But so I think I just always knew. And then this is an interesting parallel given the moment we currently find ourselves in. The economy bottomed out when I graduated from undergrad. So I was class of 2008 at USC, which I know is sacrilege considering I went to and work at UCLA. But because of that moment, combined with kind of the idea that I would always go to law school, it seemed like the perfect thing to do. So yeah, that's why I went to law school, and I didn't even plan on taking the bar. I was kind of, pushed into it by a professor, just so I'd have a backup plan. But yeah, there was no intention to ever practice. I've always thought of either doing something very random with my law degree, which maybe that is perhaps what I'm doing right now, or teaching eventually, going into academia. Yeah.
And did you plan to work for UCLA while you were at UCLA? Or really, I want to work here, or was it something that was organic, it happened organically?
It was the most organic way of coming across a job I could possibly imagine. I was working at a nonprofit in downtown. I was at a launch party for a separate nonprofit coming out of the one I was working at. And I was in, where was I? The Edison, which I don't know if you guys have been there. It's the underground kind of old school speakeasy bar in downtown LA for this launch party. And I thought I saw someone who looked really familiar, and it was the current, dean of the LLM program. I was like, what is she doing here? We started talking about how, there was a need for someone to do both international recruitment and outreach for the LLM program. And for some work on the human rights side of things. She's the head of the Health and Human Rights Law Project at the law school also. So it was just kind of this weird, fortuitous, random event that happened where I literally ran into my professor at a bar after 4 months after I graduated, and, fell into this.
Cool. And you've been traveling so much, and you probably have this amazing network of international lawyers from all over the world. So how's that, how's this schedule to travel to so many places and meet so many people and talk about UCLA?
Oh my God. I mean, it's insane. It's both a gift and a curse. I never know what time zone I'm in. I'm constantly walking into walls, whether I'm at home or in hotel rooms, because I don't know where I'm at any given time. But it's also amazing. I mean, I've gotten to meet some of the most amazing people in the world, whether it's people who, work with different law schools, or people who are coming to UCLA, people who, are alumni who have been to UCLA, or just the random people you meet when you're traveling, whether it's at a hotel or at a restaurant, because I, spend a lot of time eating by myself or doing work in hotel lounges. Yeah, it's a really random job to have, but it's also one of the coolest jobs I never imagined myself having, I think. But yeah, the travel is also exhausting. So I think I'm on like my third passport maybe since I started this job. You know, I'm 3.5 months out of the year, I'm not home. So this is very different for me, being home and being like forced to stay home right now. I'm not used to this at all.
Yeah, imagine. It's basically like on
Did
tour.
you guys did you guys meet Artur? Did you meet Daedra in Brazil, or did you meet her at UCLA?
No, at UCLA. Yeah.
Which is kind of, wait, what, you were 2018, correct?
No, I graduated in 2018.
So how didn't we meet? I don't know how that happened. I don't know how I missed you.
I met Sydney in Rio, actually.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but you were in Brazil, right? Like a couple months before.
Yeah, that was probably why you didn't meet me, actually. I had been in Brazil like 2 or 3 months before, and it was like, someone else can go. You end up going the same places a lot, so we try to mix it up a little bit.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And for either like an international lawyer that wants to go to do an LLM, or even an American lawyer that wants to specialize in certain area, what should they be looking for in a university? Like when they specialize, or it's an international lawyer wanting to have an experience in the US?
So I think that really depends on what the individual person's end goal is. So I think a lot of our students, and I think this is probably true of a lot of students at, you know, many of the top law schools in the United States, they want to do one of two things. They want to go back to their home country and kind of flex their degree or flex the specialization that they get. So, you know, there's emergent markets, for example, in, you know, Nigeria and in Brazil and in France in entertainment law. So we get a lot of students who want to come get the entertainment law specialization because it's UCLA, it's Los Angeles. Like, what else, you know, what else are we known for other than entertainment? Or there's students who are kind of trying to transition into a new career path, into a new part of their life, who, whether they're going to do that at home or abroad, are coming to just open new doors with respect to their profession and their educational credentials, I guess. So which side of that equation you fall on, I think, is going to dictate what type of program you should be looking for. If you know you're going home, you know, back to your home country after the LLM program, and you're going to be working in tax, or you're going to be working in entertainment or sports or art law, or, you know, something in the realm of race, you want to pick a program that supports that. You want to pick the program that has the best faculty and the best courses in that specific subject area. And then you also want to pick the program that is somewhere that you can see yourself living for a year, where you think you're going to be able to build a strong network, where you wouldn't mind getting stuck if, you know, you end up staying there permanently to work, because a lot of people's plans do end up changing. But also just where you're going to be comfortable. I think a lot of LLM students, because, you know, you guys have so much experience before you get to the program, which is very different than JD students. You've gone to law school, you've oftentimes worked, you know, you have like real life experience. JD students just like show up and are like, you know, I have an art degree, like, let's do this. So I think LLM students, you know, they come and they have this significant background. And if you're going to take that, pair it with a specialization and go back to your home country, you want to make sure that it makes sense, right? That it's actually going to bolster whatever your professional path is. On the other hand, if you're a, you know, student who's coming and who's going to either stay or just depart entirely from your career path, you want to take that into account. But I guess the point is, a lot of LLM students, I think, don't fully appreciate how hard the academic undertaking is going to be, because they've already done a law degree and because they've already done a bar exam in a home country. And so they don't take into account like the comfort perspective, which is, it's going to be hard. You're going to be studying a lot. You're going to be spending hours in the library. So like, be somewhere you actually enjoy or appreciate. Like, if you know you like hate warm weather and like you hate like sunshine, don't come to LA. Like, it's not for you. Like, if you know, you like really like winter, like go to Chicago or New York. Like, you know, the pace of life, like that sort of thing really matters. If you're coming from a big city, if you're coming from Sao Paulo, or if you're coming from Paris or London, and you know you want that, then like you need to be in New York or LA or Chicago. But if you're coming from somewhere that's much more rural, then like you want to go to a school that's much more, you know, what you're used to, if that's what you need to be comfortable. So I think those are the things that really go into play, you know, strength of the program, strength of faculty, what you're planning on doing professionally, and like, where are you going to be comfortable? What will feel like home to you for a year? Where do you want to make lasting connections?
Awesome.
The three of us are privileged enough to have all gone to UCLA Law School. And there's sometimes part of me that like, I don't want to let people in on the secret of how amazing the environment is there. I mean, because you really get the best of all of those worlds that you just described. Unless you really like cold, gross weather, then yes, go to Chicago or even Canada, where I lived for 15 years. But you have the law school connected to the main campus, which is just beautiful. There's lots of trees and walking trails. There's even an outdoor sculpture garden near the law school with, I mean,
it's one of the biggest outdoor sculpture gardens in the world.
And it's crazy, right? Like you just walk by and it's a sculpture by Rodin. Like who does that at their law school campus?
We do.
But then yeah, exactly. So there's part of me that like I'm so proud to have gone there. But there's probably a lot of people that would like to go there, but who can't get in. And I'm curious, like we were talking right before we started recording about the possibility that maybe there's some people who are getting their JDs this year that might be a new population that hadn't traditionally thought of an LLM program. What would you say to them if they're thinking of like, hey, this is my chance to go to UCLA?
Well, I would say this is a great time to apply for multiple reasons. So I think just in a general sense, first, you know, we're in a completely different job market than we were 3 months ago, 2 months ago. This is an interesting time. We have no idea what's going to, you know, happen. And I think if, you know, the legal job market can be difficult as is, and a lot of it's dependent on where you went to law school. A lot of it's dependent on what you studied, what sort of job you're looking for, that sort of thing. Bar passage, which this is also an interesting time for that. The California Bar just announced today that they're postponing until September.
Okay.
Yeah, so
that's news. Breaking news, everybody.
Breaking news, yeah. You heard it first. So I think this is an interesting time to consider if you're a JD student getting an LLM, which it's not really the traditional thing for JD students to do, right? Like the 3-year JD degree is the traditional domestic American path. However, I think now is a good time to, you know, credential up if you want a stronger degree from a stronger institution, or to, you know, just specialize in something, even if it's not UCLA, that, you know, another school has the best program in. For us, we're taking it really seriously, both what's happening in the job market, what's happening at the university, and we're reopening admissions, which we haven't announced yet, but
more breaking news.
Yeah, we are reopening admissions for the first time ever, sometime in the near future, and focusing really on, you know, domestic JD holders for that reason specifically, because we know that, you know, the market's changing and it's something that's going to help JD students. It's also going to help UCLA Law. So it seems like a perfect kind of time to do it.
I love the, so our tour was my first exposure to the LLM that UCLA offers in media, entertainment, and technology, which is just, it's like such an amazing combination of things that on the surface don't seem that well connected. Is UCLA sort of the standout in that area?
So for entertainment law, absolutely. I mean, it's the #1 entertainment law program in the country, and I think in the world, you know, by most metrics. I think there is kind of this marriage between those 3 different kind of distinct subject areas that makes a lot of sense. So the media and entertainment worlds, I think, are very like clearly aligned, but also in tech law, you're seeing LA become one of the biggest, most booming tech markets in the country. They're calling, you know, Silicon Beach, Venice Beach now, you know, it's this kind of new thing that's happening. And I think that there is a huge relationship building between the emergent tech market and the entertainment and media markets that are much older and kind of created LA. I think the other thing that's really interesting is from the perspective of a student taking those specializations, it also makes sense. So we're seeing a lot of graduates who, instead of going into the more traditional jobs that they would go into in entertainment, they're going into tech jobs first, and then using those jobs to transition into more traditional entertainment jobs. So I think that kind of is, I guess, what holds the specialization together. And there's some other weird aspects of the specialization that I think also make sense. The sports law component, the music law part of it. There are all these kind of LA specific industries that we do, I think, conceptualize as entertainment, even if we're not always thinking about them that way, specifically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we work with a lot of startup companies, particularly from the Bay Area. But I have to confess, I always get a little bit excited when I'm working with a startup company in Southern California, because there tends to be, in my really non-scientific study sort of way, there tends to be always this creative aspect that's a little bit different compared to the traditional tech companies popping up in the Bay Area. And I just love it. Like it gets, like you said, it's interesting to see how people are leveraging what's going on with media and content. I mean, Netflix, when you drive around LA, like they've taken over all of these, I don't remember the names of which studios, but now Netflix owns like huge studio lots in LA that were probably Paramount or somebody else back in the day. But it's really like, it's about the content. It's about how they're using technology to build the content and deliver the content. And so they really are connected. It's not two separate worlds anymore.
Yeah. No, it's fascinating. I mean, Netflix, Google has taken over like half of LA. Like I swear every 5 seconds, like, oh, there's another Google campus. Cool. Didn't know that one existed. Snapchat, like there's just, all of these, tech, like giants and, emergent tech giants and different companies that you really associated with Northern California for a long time that are very visible in the Southern California landscape now in a real way.
Yeah. So we're doing such a great job of promoting UCLA in Southern California. What else did you guys want to talk about?
Well, I have to do better. Actually, I need to talk a bit more about Daedra's job at UCLA, because they do such a. I mean, I can talk about my personal experience, because I've been to I went to UCLA. I was in the LM program, and Daedra and their team, they do such an amazing job. They're always available. They make everybody feel extremely comfortable and confident about the university, about the environment, and the whole experience. So whoever's watching us, if you want to chat about the LM experience, they're an excellent team, and they're always there for you. So
kind.
Yeah. So
You're nice. Yeah. I mean, I'm willing to talk about whatever else you want to with respect to what I do, what the university does. Yeah.
I think I'm curious. I mean, we touched on this a little bit, but what would you, I mean, like you said, you sort of fell into this position a little bit by accident. I mean, definitely it was this organic thing. We talk a lot on these chats about the importance of networking. And I'm curious, I mean, you made it sound as though it was a pure accident that there was that professor at this bar, speakeasy, I think he called it.
Yeah.
But like, I imagine that it wasn't 100% an accident. It probably was like a connection of a connection or something like that.
So yeah, it definitely wasn't 100% an accident. I mean, I had no idea it was going to happen, but thinking back on it, it makes perfect sense. So the nonprofit that I was working for, my boss at the time, who is also a close family friend of mine, which is weird because we're almost the same age, but he also went to USC and went to UCLA Law. So we had this shared connection, and the professor was someone that he knew as well. So he was like a Williams Institute alum. He did human rights classes. And so there was this connection. And so it made sense that, there were other professors I ended up seeing there as well, that I just hadn't really expected it. I just graduated. It's my first post-law school job. I'm not thinking about seeing professors at a bar, like in downtown LA at this launch event, but it makes sense. It was a nonprofit that was human rights adjacent. So it made perfect sense that she was there based on who, was throwing the event, what the event was about. And I think the other thing, getting back to your question about, or what you said about networking, I never thought of myself as very much of a networker, but I guess I kind of always just have been by nature. So I was the person in class who always had my hand up. Like, I was super annoying. I was the gunner who was just like, oh, I got something to say. Like, it's really important. Like, everybody listen to me. I was also always in professors' office hours. And I was super engaged in law school, particularly in second and third year of law school, because I was really interested in the classes I was taking. And I think that translated. I think, you know, I did well in my classes second and third year. And I think my professors saw that. So the combination of me being in their office all the time and me having my hand raised, and, you know, I also will shamelessly admit this. Every professor at UCLA has, or at UCLA Law, has a budget to take their students out for lunch during the semester. And I found this out during my first year of law school and made sure that every single professor took me out to lunch, some of them multiple times. So like all of those things coalescing, I think kind of just naturally led to me having professors that were willing to write letters of recommendation for me, who would email me when job opportunities would come up, and who I could run into at a bar and they'd be like, oh my God, I've been thinking of this position. You'd be perfect for it. Like, it hasn't been approved yet, but we should totally make this work, which is what happened.
We had a really amazing conversation probably 2 weeks ago. I don't know, Artur, you remember the conversation we had with Temi in Houston? And one of you guys made this comment of like, you don't literally go up to someone and ask them to be your mentor. You don't say, knock, 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 will you be my mentor?
Yeah.
It happens the way that it happened. We all agreed it happens the way that you described. It's like, you're just, I think the key that I hear people talk about a lot these days is authenticity. It's like, just be yourself. Don't have there be some sort of ulterior motive, but just get to know people and see where it goes.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely been my experience with it. Kind of similar to the like, oh, I fell backward, like, you know, just fell into this job. I've never thought of myself as networking or as being a person that has mentors, but I definitely do. And, you know, most of them are people who I've met either in an educational setting or some sort of professional setting, that it just happened. You know, you have a similar set of interests, or they see something in you that they really, you know, like, and you kind of just end up, I don't know, converging. And thinking about it in this sense, like being prompted to think about it, like, yeah, I definitely have some like accidental mentors, just like I have like an accidental job, just like I accidentally networked for all these years. I didn't know that I was doing it. Yeah.
Do you have any advice for somebody who like maybe has never networked and now they're in this position, they don't have a job, they're graduating, they're seeing this video on LinkedIn or similar videos, like any suggestions to them?
I have a ton of suggestions. So I think both formally engage in networking through LinkedIn, through you know, the formal networking platforms that are available to you. Reach out to people, ask them to connect with you on LinkedIn, ask them to, you know, share job opportunities with you, ask them for an informational interview over Zoom. Whatever it is, the worst thing that's going to happen if you're asking respectfully and being respectful of their time is that they're going to say no. I think also reaching out to classmates, reaching out to friends, you know, attending as many professional events as you possibly can. If we weren't in this, you know, world where we're communicating virtually, I would say be going to actual events when that's possible again. Do that. Join the bar associations that are available to you. Join whatever sections or interest groups of the bar association that, you know, concern what your professional work is. I mean, formally engaging in the networking arena, I think leads to informal connections a lot of times. You know, you're probably not going to find your mentor via LinkedIn, but you might get invited to an event where you run into someone who offers you a job or gives you a lead or, you know, anything like that. So.
Yeah, I would add, learn to take risks, like learn to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you're not, I'm not saying like break down in tears with a stranger, but like be willing to share. Yeah, I mean, it might work.
Whatever works.
But but like be willing to share part of your personal story, like, you know, something you overcame that is a little bit personal, like that. Again, like I can't stress enough the importance of authenticity, that when you're talking to somebody, if they know that they're talking to the real person and not the like person with makeup on for their interview on CNN or something, it's just, it's a lot better way to get to know somebody.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's just general good advice for life. Like,
Yeah.
be authentic. I think people connect to other people much better when they're portraying, who they actually are, as opposed to some put on version of themselves. I know it's what's led to me being really successful in my job and in, being effective at doing recruitment and outreach and alumni engagement. It's that I have this connection to the city. I have a connection to the institution. I talk about the good and the bad. With respect to my experience, in LA and at UCLA Law. And I feel like you have to be willing to do that for people to think that you're a real human. I think that's kind of important.
Yeah. It's true, right? Like people can see through it. If all they hear is good, they almost sort of throw away everything you've said.
Yeah. I think, in my personal experience, that's true. Like, I'll just kind of stare at someone like this if they're just like, saying like a whole bunch of put on stuff that doesn't seem accurate or realistic. Yeah.
Arturo?
Yeah, I mean, I'll add also, at least from my experiences, I try to go to a lot of events that were not necessarily related to law. And that way you can kind of broaden the people that you connect. And also, as Daedra was saying, it leads to informal connections too. So if you like, in my case, for example, like music, so attending music events, if you like arts, you can go, like UCLA, for example, has really interesting, the part of the campus that's dedicated to arts. It's really amazing. They have a lot of events. So you could go to events there, or film school or business school. So I would diversify as well, not only going to law events, but also running, like experiencing different areas of practice as well.
I think it's funny that you say that, because even the two of us, I think, have spoken more since I was Instagram stalking you and realized we were at the same concert. And started messaging you. We have a shared love for Tash Sultana.
Exactly.
We both just happened to be at the same concert at the Shrine Auditorium at the same time. I was like, wait, you're here? Like, what's going on? It's hilarious. So, and I never would have expected anybody I knew other than the people I was with to have been at that concert, because it was like she's very specific. I mean, amazing, but it's not like, some hugely known musician. So yeah, I think that's really good advice.
That's true.
Yeah.
So I graduated in 2001, so it's quite a long time ago. And I've told this story a few times that I didn't have a job when I graduated, and I don't know why I hadn't really thought this through too carefully, but I was like, okay, I'll just focus on the bar and then I'll deal with finding a job after the bar. And after the bar in 2001, something happened called September 11th. And I thought I was never going to find a job. I didn't even know where to start. I really had never networked. I had always been interested in immigration law, but I didn't even know there was a professional association for immigration lawyers. And I can't even, it's so long ago now, I'm sorry to say, I don't remember exactly how this happened, but somebody I knew had said, oh, you should go to this like Christmas party or something that was being organized by the Immigration Lawyers Association. And I went, and I think I knew one person there, and of course she didn't show up. And I'm like the wallflower. I'm like, somebody please come talk to me. And I'm not quite sure what happened, but I got introduced to somebody who introduced me to somebody else. They literally just met me the first time there, and they said, oh, I think I know that there's this little law firm in Koreatown that's looking for a new associate. And that's how I got my first full-time job in immigration, was like that. And it wasn't somebody who knew me super well. It just, I met somebody.
Right place, right time.
Yeah. But I think it goes to what all of us have been speaking about, which is like, it's not an accident that both of you were at that concert. It's like who you both really are. It shows who you both like. Yeah. You met, you ended up with this job because you were in a place that made sense for you, where you ran into somebody else. So, I mean, obviously we can't go out of the house right now, but definitely please don't go to the beach in Orange County this weekend like everybody did last weekend.
I'm going to start shaming people on Instagram.
I know, right? But there's like LinkedIn, I have to say, like it is shocking how many groups are popping up and making people available. And like the three of us, I'm sure if anybody's watching this and wanted to reach out to us, like none of us are going to turn them down. So, you know, right away you could have one new contact or one new conversation. I've already met at least 3 law students that I've just spoken to randomly, and I don't have a job to offer them, but at least like now they're in my mind that if I hear somebody else say they're looking for somebody, it's, so that's, you know, that's how it works.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's interesting how, yeah, it seems like an accident or a mistake, but it's not. It's choices that you made that put you in positions where you're surrounded by like-minded individuals or people who are, you know, concerned with the same things that you are, that lead to different opportunities.
It actually reminds me a lot of like when you're having success professionally and certain people will say to you, oh my God, you're so lucky to have that job, or you're so lucky to work for that person, or whatever. And I love those people that say, it's not that luck happened to you, it's that you made your own luck happen. And I think, you know, it's the same thing here. It's like, don't, like, no one's going to come knocking on your door, but just put yourself out there and make your own connections, make your own luck. And
Yeah.
we're all going to get out of this. We're all going to get out of this sooner or later. Like, it can't last forever.
Speaking of which, what you just said, you know, a couple minutes ago, that you were having concern and worry about finding a job after 9/11. It's so interesting. Like, this is definitely a new situation to be like on like lockdown, home arrest because of pandemic, but we're always facing these really insane situations that we can't really see the end of, and that we were not expecting at all, that we did not predict, that majorly impact us in our health and, you know, wellness, and also our financial prospects and our career prospects. And I was just thinking, you know, September 11th happened. Everybody thought that it was going to be, you know, the end of the world. It was not.
Mm-hmm.
The financial, you know, crash happened when I graduated from undergrad. I thought that was going to be the end of the world. It was not. Same thing is happening now with respect to this unprecedented situation, and it's also not going to be the end of the world. So I just think it's kind of interesting to think about it like that and keep things in perspective. There have been other unprecedented novel situations that have, you know, presented tremendous obstacles or hurdles, but were not insurmountable by any means. So, yeah.
Any last tips from you guys?
Oh man, last tips. Stay sane, get some fresh air, keep talking to people. I think that's like really, really, really important.
Yeah, same, exactly the same actually. So it's just an important time to just stay safe and trying to maximize your time alone. Either it's to keep your mind healthy, either it's to make new connections. Either one is fine. So thank you so much, Daedra, for accepting our invitation, for talking to us. I think it was super insightful. And just
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Like, I always love connecting with people from UCLA. Like, I haven't been there in 20 years, but I can picture the law school and the courtyard. And
come visit when this is all over. Yeah. We'll have a coffee and walk through the sculpture garden.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It was great.
Thanks again.